Okay, so your assessment teams come back and they say, if there is or isn't a fire, because that's your number one priority. So if there is a fire, hopefully it's small and it's fightable, and hopefully you have water. If the fire is large and you have no water, you are in as big of a rush as safely possible to evacuate. So start at the fire and work your way out, especially working downwind, because more than likely the flames will be burning, ashes and embers will be falling on the houses and the trees next door, which will light the next one on fire and the next one on fire. So that's how they'll typically go. It can also go upwind because the heat of the house being on fire can just spontaneously ignite stuff from the temperature, because stuff will just combust just from heat. It doesn't have to actually be on fire from the fire itself. So what you're going to try to do, and this is a whole other class, is you probably can't fight the fire in that house if it's out of control, so you're spraying water, if available, with garden hoses between the houses to try to keep it from spreading. That's your priority. Yes, sir?
Did you turn the water back on again? Presumably you turned all the waters off.
Yes, it depends upon whether or not someone was home and someone actually did all the utilities, but yes, that is a very good concern. If you turn the water off, like I just told you to, then you're turning the water back on, because the fire is a bigger danger than having one house contaminated. Does that make sense? Okay. Yes?
How many fire extinguishers would you have for your neighborhood?
Okay, the question is, how many fire extinguishers would you have? Of course, you can have as many as you want, but there's actually a fire extinguisher for each assessment team. So they actually carry their own extinguisher with them. So they see a fire, shh, and they do it right then, not headquarters, we need a fire extinguisher at 1615 Delaware, copy? No answer. Headquarters, the fire's already out because you're carrying your own extinguisher. So we would probably have maybe one in the headquarters, and of course we have several extra ones, and then one for each of the teams. Let's see. Okay, so then the assessment is over, and so now it's search and rescue time. The medical clinic has already been established according to the commander's checklist. They've gone, we've gone through it. We said, okay, we have a primary and a secondary. We're going to set it up at this house, or in this, we've got the park. So we can set up a tent and some tarps and put, our injured people there. Think about what's special about your neighborhood as well, because in our particular case, we are a block from the North Berkeley BART station. And the tunnels for the BART go right under Ohlone Park. And there's an emergency exit a block away from our thing, one of those graded things that's locked. So depending upon what's happened in the tunnels with the BART, we may have mass casualties. And so we've actually tried to prepare for stuff like that. Each neighborhood is different. You're going to have different situations. You may be downhill from a dam, so flooding might be a problem. Landslides if you live in the slide area by Codornices Park, etc. So you prepare especially for your needs. So essentially you have about 24 hours without fire to search and rescue. And that's a medical reason, because if you've got someone who's significantly trapped enough that you can't, with 3 or 4 people, just lift it enough to pull them out, and you need to use the search and rescue techniques that are taught in the CERT classes, the cribbing with the wood and the big long iron bars and 10-person teams and safety observers, that's a lot of resources. So if you come across something like that, their circulation is probably going to be cut off in that limb, if it's a limb. So 24 hours is about the amount of time before you can lift that thing off of them and they won't die. Right, Barbara? Am I getting this right? Roughly?
Yeah, it depends on how much of their body is trapped.
Right. So as a guideline, you want to try to get them out within 24 hours, because what's happening is that with the lack of blood flow, all of the body's waste and toxins are getting stored down there. Now you release it and all the blood's flowing again, so all that now goes through the whole body and it's overwhelming. So keep that in mind. However, you want to rescue the easy rescues first and save the hard ones for later, because 10 people could probably rescue 50 people in 30 minutes. But those same 10 people Might take an hour to rescue that one person that's trapped under all that stuff. So keep that in mind. Medical, that's a 24/7 ongoing priority. Your clinic will be one of the first things you set up. Your fire teams, if you have, again, volunteers showing up, they're going to be putting out the fires. I'm sorry, they will be putting out the fires, or at least leading the teams, but now, if there is no fire, they're going to be clearing the streets. Because now you want to have ambulance, fire department, police department capability to come in case a fire or other emergency occurs. So definitely, you've got, wish we had snow shovels, because they're really great for sweeping rocks and stuff out of the street. But you're just going to have to improvise. And then, of course, your medical teams. So your search and rescue teams are going out and they call in or they send a runner and they say, we've got somebody who's injured. And so they are going to do the best they can to take care of that person, get them out of the house. Now they're out on the sidewalk in front of the house. Their expertise is to go back into houses, and so the medical teams will come to them and pick up that person and bring them to the clinic. So don't spend a lot of time on the medical part. Get them medically stable enough to get out of the house. Then have your clinic, have your mobile medical team come and pick them up with whatever, equipment you've got. Okay, so now we're going door to door with the search and rescue, with our first priority actually being the ones that are on our neighborhood roster, which is so important to have for the disabled, pregnant women, people with brand new babies, anything like that, special needs. And double check on them first. That's why they're on the list like that, so that you can take care of them. Okay, so before you go into any house,